Hello there, I'm Shinto, and I hate myself so you don't have to. Today I bring with me some very bad news. My previous video was not done correctly by YouTube standards. I had forgotten to include some very minor but ultimately important things. My first mistake was not covering the entire screen and about half the runtime of the video with advertisements for Raid Shadow Legends or the VPN of your choice. This is, as you know, one of the most crucial steps towards a successful YouTube career. Second only to the ability to follow market trends to the extent of knowing that someone watching this video a year from its upload time will have no idea what the fuck Raid Shadow Legends is supposed to be, much to the displeasure of its developers, who would have surely liked to cash in on that sweet whale money which would otherwise have gone to the closest casino or wishing hole. My second and way more grave mistake was, as you can probably already tell by having internalized the first sentence of this year's second video of mine, not making myself appear like the most pitiful and self-loving individual known to men. How else would the audience be able to put themselves in my shoes if I don't drop random hints about my suicidal tendencies at set intervals? Worst of all, I have not even considered the possibility of abusing the fact you clicked on my video by complete accident to bombard you with as much shameless advertising for my external source of income. That of course being my Patreon, and as many links to my social media and webtoon comic as humanly possible. Unfortunately, I am incapable of mustering the mental strength to actually go back and re-edit that video to include all of those significant upgrades, like some sort of clearly superior remastered edition of the most underwhelming magnum opus you may have come across to this date. Instead, I shall do the next best thing and just go on another long rambling rant about everything I personally deem annoying about YouTube, its enigma of an algorithm, and of course, try to make it right, by unwillingly including the very essence of distilled success that some people out there think makes for a more engaging video. I am obviously talking about begging for more than any reasonable person watching a random piece of media on the internet is willing to provide, given the limited time and attention span at their disposal. 3 consecutive clicks before the autoplay moves on to the next video in the playlist YouTube was so kind to generate for you. First things first. How does one make a sort of meta YouTube video about creating a YouTube video without inevitably and totally not on purpose ripping off way more talented individuals like the Casually Explained dude or the Bad Writing Advice guy? Well, I personally couldn't come up with a clever way of differentiating myself, so I will do the next best thing, hoping they never find me. And also, talking over a sped up version of me drawing a webtoon instead of making my own stick figure slideshow in Photoshop. That one's on me though, since I simply lack the funds to afford any of the Adobe programs. Christ almighty, those things have no right to be as expensive as they are, but I digress. The next step on the road to a YouTube channel oozing with intentional mediocrity is the use of a soothing voice with clean pronunciation and that good Oxford English. Well, I can't have that due to hardware limitations, so I shall instead opt for the unidentifiable but vaguely European accent paired with a voice that should only in the rarest of cases make you want to find your inner ear with an unsharpened pencil. Now that all the technicalities have been sorted out, it is time to move on to actually choosing a pseudo-niche topic to talk about in all of my videos. If I was actually suffering from the delusion that I had any idea of what I was talking about, I would go for a review channel. Now that is a concept no one has explored, ever. What could be more original and at the same time incredibly efficient to the point where it is enough to simply watch someone else's video with my webcam turned on, moving from time to time to convey the idea that I actually give a fuck about the thing I am forcing myself to watch? Why not go one step further? Since consuming content is also too much work to put in for an untalented individual like me, I shall cut out the middleman and directly review products. Because nothing screams quality content quite like spending money to make money. The biggest benefit of that one is that if I were to get found out by the copyright holder, I won't be put into the shame and self-reflect mode that is a channel strike, but rather be giving some of their products completely for free, with their expectation being that I would automatically have something nice to say about those gadgets. What's not to love? If all of those things are not an option, presumably because I still think it is too much effort, or because I came to the realization that in order to review products I would have to start out rich in the first place, there are still some possibilities. I could make a drama channel where I discuss recent events, dividing my audience into camps that quarrel amongst each other, thus artificially inflating the amount of comments I get. Wouldn't that be nice? Just mentioning the very concept of politics or reading out a random tweet out of context. Now that is success at the cost of someone else's sanity. Perfect. but I still can't have that. My opinions on most topics are simply non-existent. So instead of instantly making every single video I create dated by the time it is released, I shall bring to you the ultimate pinnacle of low effort, low quality content ever conceived. This might sound extraordinarily far-fetched and alien to you, but humor me with some suspension of disbelief here. Imagine me going on Reddit, opening up the highest traffic subreddit I can find that has nothing to do with politics. One of those, look at how much my life sucks in comparison to yours subreddits. Imagine me going down the list of recently added stories and just reading one of them, or multiple. Then finding a nice looping background, preferably one that is free or with the watermark still attached, and just reading for an hour. But how would I make any money off of that? That sounds rather nonsensical, right? Well, of course it is all about the density of advertisements within that video. Personally, I recommend having at least one ad break every 3 minutes during this 1 hour. I just have to create with the mindset of, if my viewers don't want to strangle me for cutting to commercial mid-sentence over 100 times, thus making them unable to use the video for its intended purpose of falling asleep to a monotone voice reading a boring story littered with grammatical errors, then I'm obviously not doing it right. At least then I will be considered one of the main reasons why some people give in and start paying YouTube a monthly subscription just to get rid of ads on devices that don't support uBlock Origin. To be completely honest, making people suffer from insomnia is such a nice and polite thing to do. Even if people had a way of disabling all the ads, I would still try to make my video as obnoxious as possible by randomly changing to a shrill out-of-place voice, just to make the viewer jump up and wonder why they decided to suffer through my content in the first place. Unfortunately, that technique would require me to actually be capable of changing my voice to anything but my natural monotone. Wow, would you look at the time? It is time to keep my promise and beg all of you to go read my fucking comic, and while you're at it, press those 3 famous buttons so my channel may prosper and I won't have to starve. I'm pretty sure you know the drill, so I don't even have to mention which buttons I mean. I'ma just give you a small hint though, one of them rhymes with hell. Actually, fuck that. I hate this mandatory convention so much that I'm gonna do something else. I dare you all to close your eyes and move your mouse around in a wild fervor, clicking randomly. With some luck, you might find the unsubscribe button or click on a video that is actually worth watching. In the ultimate example of precognition retrospective, I realize this would probably not work in case you're watching this on a mobile device, but I shall take my chances like the kind of morally ambiguous sellout I am. Now get back to work.